You're gonna be on the camera.
Yeah,
This is gonna be the demo day.
all on the camera. Just start up,
That'll wake the audience up.
Okay, guys, when you're ready.
Ready?
So MusiMia is a virtual reality educational platform designed specifically for children aged between 8 and 12 years old. And at MusiMia, we empower children to explore arts and culture in a way they enjoy the most by playing.
So Olga and I have kind of two different stories that led us on the same path of Musemio. When I left for graduate school in the US, I looked at my dad and I said, Dad, I'm gonna make arts accessible. And like a concerned parent, he asked me, well, what job is that? What career is that? And I said, I don't know, but I'm gonna do that. And it wasn't until I met Olga and all the traction she's made with what was Museum 2.0 that I realized that this was fulfilling my personal mission of making arts accessible. So
I was actually very surprised to hear the stories the first time Kaitlin told me, because I was like, wow, this looks like a perfect fit for me, so let's talk. And that's how she ended up actually becoming my co-founder. What I knew from all the extracurriculum classes and people I've spoken to was that I need to speak to my customers. The problem in MuseMia and Museum 2.0 situation was that we have the end user that is a child and we have an economic buyer that is a parent, and you can't just approach kids on the street and talk to them. So while I was at London Business Schools, I received a lot of assistance from our mentors who actually put me in touch with a lot of kids and a lot of friends of friends who had kids. So by the time I met Kaitlin, I tested our kind of very, very basic MVP with over 300 kids. But obviously, Kaitlin was the one who looked at my MVP and said, well, why don't we bring a little bit more education? What is the framework? What are the learning outcomes? What are we trying to achieve? And she set up our first trial at school for children with special needs, actually, in June 2018. So that's where it's kind of the serious work on MuseMia has started.
testing, research, and don't be afraid to share your idea. Those were the three principles we followed.
Yeah, like just push. That's all we do as Kaitlin. It's like every single day we meet in the morning, like what we're gonna do today to make a real difference. Whom do we need to send an email to? Whom do we need to call? Whom do we need to meet? Whom do we need to research? What will take us to the next step? Maybe not tomorrow, because innovation doesn't take days or weeks, it takes months and years, but how we can skyrocket the idea of accessible arts and culture through technology.
So I am a first-time founder.
I am the second-time founder.
So Olga and I are both incredibly proud to be female founders and run a female-led business, especially in the tech space and the tech for good space. We believe that we can be a voice of positive change, not only for women entrepreneurs, but the startup ecosystem in general.
Statistics show that only 18% of all founders are female or coming as a mixed team. I think there should be a little bit more encouragement for women to actually try, because what sometimes we struggle to acknowledge is the fact that loads of young girls feel that they might not be able to do that. And it's very important not only to help them to get into entrepreneurship or tech or anything like that, but also support them in believing in themselves. And I think it doesn't start when you're 18, 19, it should ideally start from the period of primary or secondary school, so the girls can actually believe that they can go a mile further, that they can actually do stuff, that they can deliver. And obviously there is always a question about unconscious bias. We've been facing it a lot. People would ask us what do we do in real life? And that would be one of the most daunting questions we've ever had. So we would have a presentation and think like, yeah, we are running a virtual reality educational startup. I was like, oh, so what do you do in real life? You're too young to have a startup. You're two women having a startup. And I'm like,
this is our job.
Yeah, I do startup full time. Also, sometimes unconscious bias kicks in when you're having some kind of negotiation processes. We've been to a lot of kind of speed dating with, it's called speed dating. Yeah, a lot of speed dating with investors, and then we would bring a male member of the team who wouldn't even be like co-founder status. Most of the questions would be directed to him, and I would be ignored, even though it is my business and I am running it, and Kaitlin has the same feeling, I guess.
Yeah, and I think for us, we just want to be visible and empower not only young girls, but also maybe entrepreneurs who are older, mompreneurs, or just any woman or anyone that has a vision. We are from two different ends of the world. I'm from the US, she's from Ukraine, and we started a business in London. Not being part of this ecosystem, but it is possible. I am a huge believer, and I know Olga's a huge believer as well, that education must drive the technology, not tech driving the education. Because if you want to have true learning outcomes, pedagogy has to be a part and ingrained in your ed tech. And in London, we are very much accustomed, and almost we take this for granted, where we have these amazing programs and these amazing opportunities in research institutions where we can test and validate our product. Now, the education market in general, though, it is crowded, but there's so many various types of ed tech. There are SaaS platforms for classroom management, and that falls under ed tech, which don't really have anything to do with pedagogy. Or there's something like us, where it's content and data-driven, where it has a more tangible learning effect.
So we've tested with around 3,000 children in the last year with different schools, both in the UK and in Finland, and we've spoken to these kids, and we've spoken to these schools, and we've spoken to teachers, and we know what's gonna work and what not gonna work. For example, teacher not gonna appreciate to have a very, very complicated software that can do marvels, but they would appreciate something that would work in 3 clicks and engage with at least 50% of the classroom. When we come back to children, they helped us to design our movement style, and our movement style is unique. It's Museum's proprietary technology. It hasn't been created by Google or anyone else. So that's what kids told us. They basically told us how they want to move, and we turned it to life.
BGV has been incredible for us, not only as a company, but also as founders. When we found the BGV program, we knew that this was something we wanted to pursue, because we're not only about creating a sustainable business, hopefully future unicorn, but also making a social impact, because that ties back to our story and our mission of arts accessibility. The mentors here have been world-class, phenomenal people who have given their time, efforts, energy, whether they're in the ed tech sector or not.
Yeah, and I think for us it was also very important to speak to fellow founders who were a little bit ahead of us in the journey, and I think that's what we really appreciate during the BGV programs, the Founders Confidential. What kind of real problems that you wouldn't necessarily want to speak about in public do you have? What kind of things, what kind of tips you can give to each other to help someone maybe not to do the same mistakes, maybe to do different mistakes, because we're all gonna end up making the mistakes. So I think this was particularly valuable, and obviously everyone is so supportive here. It's like you can really feel it's Tech for Good community. And it even started with Matthew actually at the beginning saying, well, the office is open 24 hours, but you're not encouraged to stay here after working hours. We need kind of work-life balance. So it's just kind of very sweet to be supported, but not necessarily in a kind of unhealthy startup way.